afternoon and a warm welcome to The Perspective, broadcasting live from MAJaC TV. The Perspective is a program designed to look into the media landscape in the Gambia. Equally, the show will look into how journalism is shaping democracy in the country. This, among other issues relating to the work of journalists in the country. With me in the studio today is Mohamed Esba, the president of the Gambia Press Union. Mohamed Esba is a multiple award-winning journalist in the Gambia. Mr. Ba, welcome to The Perspective.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jani. It's indeed a pleasure having me here, and I'm hoping to have a very nice, fruitful discussion with you.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you accepting our invitation to The Perspective. So to set the stage for our conversation, could you briefly tell us how is the media landscape currently in the Gambia compared to the previous regime?
Obviously, thank you very much for that question. The media landscape is very diverse compared to the previous regime. We know the media theories, the normative media theories, the authoritarian and the libertarian. And now we can comfortably say that the media is now operating under the libertarian theory in the country, because we have a more proliferation of proliferation. Oh, sorry. Can we take that again? Yeah. Okay. We have more important things in the media, and then also we've seen a lot of diverse, a lot of diverse media. We have a lot of important issues with regards to media. Looking at the television, the online platforms, which are more. We have also the radio platforms. Now we can comfortably say that we have 35, more than 35 radio stations. We also have more than 5 online platforms in the country. There was a time even online platforms are taboo. Having online platforms in this country is a taboo in there. And then also looking at the involvement, the perpetration that is meted on media by the government at the time, the draconian laws that makes it very difficult for media to operate in this country. But what happened is now we've seen the democratic society, the democratic dispensation, which allows media to operate freely. And there were also existing radio stations that were hindered because of the operation of the regime at the time. They were so repressive, and not every media house would have dared to do current issues. And now we've seen that, obviously. Every radio station is now doing current issues, current affairs in this country. And we've seen also, as I said, online media platforms. We've seen the freedom newspapers at the time. When you obviously browse through those media platforms, you might be arrested. And now, you can browse any media platform. And we've seen also the presence of the online media platform. So obviously, this a lot of media convergence. We've seen people now doing current issues, as I said. So it's important to know that the media landscape is now very divergent, and people promote diverse and dissenting opinion. We've seen even GRTS.
Yeah, so I think that's very important to highlight some of those things, because even with that, still we have some challenges journalists are confronted with. So, but to ask you, because it is always said the media, it is the fourth arm of the government, but how is the media contributing, in shaping the democracy in this country?
Yes, obviously, in many ways, media is shaping, even in terms of educating the masses to understand their rights, because there was a time when Gambians were fed up with elections. Over and over again, we went through elections, and they believed the government that deserved to win was not winning, and they believe elections cannot by any chance remove the government at the time. So the media, with its agenda setting role, has been doing the agenda setting telling people that obviously vote, it has happened in other countries and it can happen in this country, obviously. Also in educating the masses, because it, we've seen coups and counter coups at the time during those days, and which was not a good sign of democracy, because anywhere there is a coup, obviously, you see democracy will go back. And you know, the media was there, very active. Despite the challenges, there are few media houses that stood out within the country and outside the country. You know, as I said, the online media platforms. So this was the time when people realized that yes, we should give it a chance. And there was a time also that people wanted oppositions to come together, but their diverse and dissenting opinion could not be intensified, could not be giving out a loud voice. But it's only the media that gave out the loud voice until they saw a need that they should come together as that opposition. So media has been doing a lot of things in terms of you know, engaging or making sure that people understand their rights, as well as strengthening democracy. So you can see when people realize their powers through different opinion that they receive or different information that they are exposed to, then they decided to exercise their rights as citizens. And then later
But
there was a transition.
Again,
Yeah.
what one would say, despite all this, sometimes people tend to misconstrue or misunderstand when, you know, the media is telling people we have democracy, but, you know, in order to teach people, to tell them exactly what democracy means, at some point, I mean, you know, it's not fulfilled. So this is why people will at some point do things that are out of context, that are out of within the circle of the law. I mean, what else can the media do to make sure people understand exactly what democracy means?
Obviously, the role of the media, it's very important in ensuring that people understand democracy and democratic values. But for sure, I will agree with you that the media should do more in ensuring that people understand what democracy is, because you know, the post-dictatorship tendency, it's as a result of that, people's understanding of democracy and democratic values is less. But with the engagement through the media, and with also media doing its job as expected, then people will also change their perception towards the realities. Because democracy, obviously, we have to understand in context what democracy means. It doesn't mean you have to do whatever you feel like. So that is why the media first should shape the agenda of democratic values, making sure that people understand, because it is stipulated in the Constitution what is the role of the citizen to his or her country. I think media should be selling that agenda. Also ensuring that government is held to account, meaning government are doing the right investment, utilizing the right resources, so that people can also have the trust in governance. Because democracy is very complex, and if you don't understand that complexity, then as media you cannot also channel that agenda. So how can the media do that? Making sure that government is held to account. As I said, we also promote divergent and dissenting opinions on very pertinent issues with regards to the issues of the country, policies, but not allowing you know, hate speech or misinformation, disinformation to you know, overshadow the real core of journalism and media work in this country. So it's important that the media looks into that lens, making sure people are educated, you know, also government does the right policies and programs. Because what is democracy is if people are poor. What is democracy is people are paying tax and they are not, you know, feeling the taste of the cake, the national cake.
Exactly.
Then the media should ensure that government is making the right investment. How can they do that? As I said, you ensure that important issues that are relevant to the society, government address those issues. Issue of poverty, issue of, issue of inequality, issue of, a lot of things that are very key.
Wonderful points outlined there. So, because when we were starting, we talked about the role that journalists are playing in this country, and you are the current president of the Gambia Press Union. Even though the dynamics have changed from the previous regime coming to now, but yet still we have seen some assaults that were meted out on journalists during their line of duty. So as the president of the Gambia Press Union, with all those assaults that some of these journalists went through, what steps did the Gambia Press Union took to make sure they seek redress for these people?
Yeah, since we assumed office as the leadership of the Gambia Press Union, we deemed it necessary to have a proactive approach on issues. If you look at the assaults before and now, it's different, though it's still there. If you look at the time, assault is mainly meted by, or perpetrators are mainly government, the state apparatus, which is the security mainly that does the assault, in most cases. But when there is a change, we've seen that there is a change in dynamism. The dynamics has changed. Now the assault is not only the government, the state apparatus, though they are doing it in a very minimal, at a very minimal, rate. But now we've seen even the opposition parties, political party supporters, are also assaulting journalists. And the first assault in the New Gambia was the assault by political party supporters against a journalist. That was the first assault. So GPU over the years, we've registered more than 13 assaults since 2017 to 2023. Probably 2023, we've not yet received any for now. And we're hoping that the trend will definitely continue. So what we are doing as GPU is, first is engagement. We're using the engagement approach. That is, we've reached out to the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, to discuss on this, how we can solve these issues. We've also reached out to the political parties. We've even conducted, or we've organized a dinner where we sat with political parties, the bigwigs as they call them. We sat with them, we discussed with them, and also listened to them and tell them about, what issues around, or the challenges that journalists face because of their press conferences, because of their campaigns where journalists are assaulted. And they noted that we also did series of, engagement with political parties, because we know these are the key people that assault journalists. So the engagement is continuing, and then we are also ensuring that we condemn in the strongest term whatever or whenever an assault is meted on a journalist or media worker. We've done that separately, and then we also engage journalists as well, not only one-sided, because it should be both sides. Journalists should also be very conscious of their safety, because certain things that journalists are also doing is detrimental to their safety. So journalists, we are training journalists on safety. We've done a HIT course, on training journalists to understand how to save themselves within a dangerous environment, and also training journalists on safety, how to scan, how to also assess or do a risk assessment before even conducting a story. So this is an ongoing process, and we believe now, if you look, obviously, the trend has gone down, and we're hoping that this conversation will continue, and also the dialogue as well as the training will continue.
So briefly, before I go into my next question, I want us to clarify this point very briefly. Have the union ever dragged anybody to court to serve as a deterrent for people that always assault journalists during their line of duty?
Yeah, the union cannot drag anyone to court. The union can support in solidarity, because you have to also understand people have the fundamental right as journalists or individuals to take the matter, to decide what happens to their case, but we advise as union. There were a lot of times that we even advise people if they want to go to the courts, the union will support as well. But later people decide, no, I don't want to go to court, because they felt maybe the issue has been addressed. For instance, when an assault happened, we engage both parties, and then sometimes we even demand apologies from other parties. Just like the first assault, as I said, what happened, even political party leaders of a political party came and then met with the victim, and then they discussed, and the victim felt, yes, I'm okay. This is justice for me. Justice, is maybe relatives. Let's say maybe what happened to me, maybe what I perceive as justice might not be perceived as justice by another person. So you cannot say going to court might be the solution. It's not just a one-way.
So in
thing.
a nutshell, you use dialogue in order to
Dialogue
resolve some
instead
of those
of,
matters.
and also it's a victim-centered approach. You understand? It's a victim-centered approach. We cannot drag anyone to court, but if the victim says yes, he or she is ready, we go. But if you believe, as I explained earlier, and there was a time that also is very senior statesperson who is a leader of a political party, also his supporters assaulted someone who is a media worker, and then the person said, okay, for me, what I want is my stuffs to be given back to me, because his cameras were confiscated, and then also they also gave him something in addition to compensate, because some of the materials were spoiled. So that's justice for you.
Wonderful. So this will now lead me to this question of the access to information bill. Yeah. Because we know this bill have already been passed, but how is this bill reflecting in the work of journalists?
Yeah, it's very important. It's now a law. It was enacted in July 2021, and then assented to by the president in August 2021, the same year. This bill was initiated by the Gambia Press Union for the first time that a bill is coming through the civil society and going to the government, and later enacted and also assented to by the president. So GPU saw the need that there is a need to access to information, because GPU has been championing media law reform agenda for so long, because there are a lot of laws. For instance, there are laws that are in the criminal code that deter access to information, the government's GO, general orders. We have laws that are even colonial laws, for instance, the Telegraph Act, and then other laws that have been here for a century, during colonial era. So what happened was, we were trying to see how best we make sure that government make sure that these laws are repealed. But it was a problem.
Let me not cut you.
Yeah.
I think this is a good point. We bring this report about journalists and some of these challenges that they go through. So we can watch this video and come back live. Do stay tuned. A profession believed to be an old trade of dispatching information to the public to keep them abreast with the happenings within the country. Moreover, to entertain, inform, and educate the masses. Further, journalists over the years continue to do excellent work in their line of duty in the areas of their specialization. This, at most, comes with a lot of pressure, rushing to meet deadlines at work for publications. However, with the entire outstanding work journalists are doing, they continue to be faced with challenges of assault and brutalization from the public, particularly the security apparatus. Despite the challenges coming their way, they continue to hold the government and its other institutions to account, serving as watchdog. Equally, investigative journalists keep unearthing corruption and wrongdoings in the country. Mustafa K. Dabo, editor at MAJaC, expressed why he chooses investigative journalism above the other forms of the profession.
I've been a journalist for some time, and come to the realization that investigative journalism probably is the most impactful form of journalism makes you fulfilled in a lot of ways, in that you get to be actively involved instead of just passively writing about things that other people tell you. It's a very exciting adventure in that the work is like a puzzle. You get to be engaged with issues, and you get to find out how they happened, who are the players when they happened. You get to be even more adequately informed as a journalist yourself. It's the best form of journalism. It's the best form of journalism anyway. I'm happy with being exposed. They don't take it like that. We have people who have made active decisions to, they've taken active position in trying to prevent us from publishing a story. That's one. Whether through inducement, we have cases like that. Or after the publication of the story, put some pressure to make sure the story is taking over our website. Or after the publication of our story, reach out in a way that could influence how we see facts that we've presented in the story. Those cases do happen, but
From working under a 22-year of authoritarian rule by ex-President Jammeh, journalists were enforcedly disappeared, tortured, exiled, and killed. Under the new dispensation, not much has been done in transforming the trend and protecting journalists. Journalists continue to contribute to shaping the democracy of the country. However, more work needs to be done to protect and safeguard the pressmen and women in the Gambia. Welcome back from that short break. MS, you saw that report indicating some of the challenges that journalists go through, the assaults that that are meted out on them during their line of work and all those things. So with these things happening, do you think much work really needs to be done from both areas to make sure journalists have a safe environment whereby they can do their work without any hindrance, without any troubles along the line?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, more work needs to be done. More work has been done, but we need more in terms of even having a legal framework to protect journalists. In other countries, it is clearly stipulated, like you have a legal framework. And there is no also national policy, recognized national policy that outlines protection of journalists. In other countries, yes, you have it. But in the country, we don't. So these are kind of things that we need to ensure that journalists are protected. We also need, training for journalists. As I said, we've trained other journalists, but I think we need to do more. Now we have more journalists, you have thousands of people, around, and then we have a lot of online media platforms, and sometimes you even see colleagues, the way they operate at a very, unconducive environment. It's sometimes alarming. You see protest and how some of the journalists, because they are not exposed to certain realities. So I think it's important. It's two ways. The responsibility of the government, the responsibility of stakeholders, the responsibility of the GPU, the media fraternity as a whole, which is very, very important. That journalists first should also ensure that they are exposed to certain training with regards to protection. But overall, is the responsibility of government to bring some policies ensuring that journalists are protected. But GPU is even looking forward to those kind of things though with time, I believe it will happen. And also, as I said, you made mention of the ATI law, which is very key. It will help journalists to ensure that they have information, relevant and timely information, not only journalists but also citizens, to have information that are relevant to their work, which will even enhance transparency, accountability, and also citizens' awareness as well as participation. So basically, it's important. Yeah.
So, just 1 minute, I would just want you to rush through this. That is the collective bargaining document that was championed by the Gambia Press Union. How are media chiefs cooperating with this document?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just briefly.
Yeah, briefly, media chiefs, some media chiefs are cooperating. They've signed to the document, but some are still not yet. So we're hoping that we will continue the dialogue and the conversation, because it's a new thing. You understand? You know, they say sometimes if you are not exposed to certain things, if you are not used to certain ways, if you know, they want to introduce those things, it becomes probably a bit burden before you adapt to those kind of things. So I believe we will get there. We still engage in media chiefs and ensuring that they understand the importance of the collective bargaining, because its main objective is to professionalize the media, making sure that not everyone will just go from the school to the newsroom. Like you just come from grade 9 or grade 12, you just go directly to the newsroom without certain training. So everyone will want to have qualifications, so that, because the pay is attached to the qualification.
So thank you very much. Yeah. I think we will draw the curtain here. The viewers, thank you so very much for taking your time to look through the perspective here on MAJaC TV. This is all what time allows us for today's edition. And I would say a big thank you to my guest here, who is Mohamed Esba, President of the Gambia Press Union and also a multiple award-winning journalist. With me, your presenter, Momodou Jane. It's a pleasure sitting on the presenter seat until we come your way next week for another program. It's a bye from me.